Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into something really interesting today?
Absolutely. Should be a good one.
We're talking all about prompt engineering.
Which is becoming a seriously sought after skill set these days.
It really is. And I think sometimes people hear prompt engineering and think, oh, that's for the AI experts.
Right, like it takes years of study to master.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But it's way more accessible than it
It,
sounds.
it really is. At its core, prompt engineering is basically about how to talk to AI so it actually gets you.
Yeah, how to get the results you actually want.
Exactly. Because as AI tools become more integrated into, well, everything.
Our workflows, our creative projects, everything.
Yeah. Knowing how to clearly articulate your needs to these AI tools can be the difference between, like, having a helpful assistant
Totally.
and just having this frustrating experience where you're like, why aren't you understanding me?
Like, come on, I know you can do this.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's make sure we're all on the same page.
That sounds good.
We got to talk about these things called large language models.
Right, which is a mouthful.
It sounds very intimidating, very technical.
Yeah, it sounds way more complex than it really is. Basically, imagine a system that has read more text than any human ever could in a million lifetimes.
Like the entire internet and then some.
Pretty much. We're talking books, articles, code, everything you can imagine, it's absorbed it all.
Wow.
And that's essentially what a large language model is.
Hmm.
And it uses that vast knowledge base to try to understand your requests and then hopefully respond to them in a meaningful way.
So it's like having access to this incredible library, but we need to know the right keywords.
Yes, a perfect analogy. You need to know how to search for what you're looking for, right? You're not just going to wander around aimlessly.
Exactly. Don't get lost in the stacks.
Precisely. And that's where prompt engineering comes in.
It's the key.
It's about moving beyond just simple questions like, what's the weather? And learning how to communicate with AI in a way that unlocks its full potential.
Which I think we all want, because these AI tools are just getting more and more powerful.
Oh, absolutely. The possibilities are pretty much endless. It's really quite exciting. And that's what we're going to dig into today, right?
Yeah. And we've got two really interesting sources we're going to be drawing from.
Perfect. Lay it on me.
So we've got this technical guide. It's great. It breaks down the mechanics of prompt engineering. So almost like a workshop manual,
I like it.
like how to actually craft the perfect command.
Awesome. What about the second source?
The other one's cool. It's a fascinating look at how prompt engineering is actually being used in the real world in different professions.
Because it's not just for coders, is it?
No, not at all. Writers, marketers, educators.
Really, anyone who interacts with AI at all, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's about communication, right?
Yeah.
And everyone can benefit from communicating more effectively.
Okay, so I'm excited.
Okay.
Whether you're just looking to streamline your workflow
Sure.
or you're ready to unlock some serious next level AI wizardry. I love it.
We've got something for everyone here today. All right, so let's dive into some of these strategies for prompt engineering because I'm ready to level up my prompt game.
It's like learning the secret handshake.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go from novice to like prompt pro.
I love it. And the good news is a lot of these strategies, they're really rooted in common sense.
Okay, that's good to hear.
It's not about knowing some secret code or anything.
Right, because I mean, we see these AI tools do amazing things,
It's true. They can be really impressive.
but at the end of the day, they're operating on the instructions that we give them.
Precisely. They're not mind readers. Not yet, anyway. And that's where clarity comes in.
Right, so important.
Our sources really emphasize this. Being crystal clear in your prompts is absolutely crucial.
So it's like if you're explaining something to a friend, the clearer you are, the better they'll understand.
Exactly.
And AI is no different.
Yeah. It's the same thing with AI. Don't be afraid to over-explain, especially when you're dealing with complex tasks. Instead of just saying, write me a report on climate change.
Yeah, that's pretty broad.
Right, you want to be specific. What kind of data are you looking for? What time frame? What are the key arguments you want to address?
So give it the structure, basically.
Totally. And that actually leads us to another really key strategy, which is breaking down those complex tasks.
Okay, good to know because some of the stuff I want to do is a little complex.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. See, AI, it can only handle so much information at once, right? Just like you wouldn't try to eat a whole pizza in one bite.
One bite, yeah, no,
You got to break it down, make it manageable.
smaller chunks.
Exactly. So you do the same for AI. You break those large tasks into smaller, more digestible steps.
Divide and conquer.
Exactly. And here's a little bonus tip. When you break down a task like that, you're essentially creating a step-by-step process for the AI,
Yeah,
right?
like a to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can actually tell the AI to follow those steps explicitly, which can really improve accuracy, and it gives you more control.
Oh, interesting. So you're not just telling it what to do, but how to do it,
Exactly.
like a roadmap.
I love that analogy, a roadmap. It's perfect.
Hmm.
And speaking of control, another really powerful technique is actually specifying the output that you want.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Don't just accept whatever the AI spits out.
Don't just take it at face value.
Exactly. You have the power to actually shape those results.
Hmm.
So, for example, instead of just letting the AI write you a paragraph, you can say, hey, give me a bullet point summary of
Yeah.
this. Or I need this in a table format.
Hmm.
Or even write this in a specific tone of voice.
Oh, like if I need to sound like really formal for something?
Precisely. You can say, write this like a news headline, or I need this to sound really encouraging and upbeat, whatever it might be.
That is amazing. Okay.
You're basically giving the AI a blueprint for the kind of response you want.
It gives you so much more control.
Exactly. You're no longer just along for the ride, you're in the driver's seat.
I'm into that. Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. It's about understanding how to communicate effectively with AI to get the results you need.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but I'm seeing in our notes that things get even more interesting when we start talking about advanced prompt engineering techniques.
Oh, yeah, this is where it gets really fun.
Okay, fun. I like it. So are you ready to blow my mind a little bit?
I think so. Get ready, because when I first started exploring some of this stuff, it really blew my mind.
Okay, good.
It's like, you're stepping behind the curtain and you start to see how the AI actually works.
Yeah, like you're getting under the hood a little bit.
Exactly. And one of the things that really fascinates me is this idea of giving an AI a memory.
Giving it a memory. What does that even mean?
So it's almost like teaching the AI to take notes as it reads, right?
Right.
Because these large language models, they have a limited window of how much information they can process at once.
It's like their short-term memory or something.
Exactly. It's like short-term memory. So, if you feed it a whole research paper, for example,
Yeah, it's a lot of info.
there's a good chance it's going to forget what it read at the beginning by the time it gets to the end.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Right. And that's where this technique comes in.
Okay.
You can train the AI to basically summarize each section as it goes, and it creates this kind of condensed version of everything it's learned.
So later on, you can ask it about the whole thing.
Exactly. Instead of just like the last couple paragraphs, it's processed.
That's really cool.
Right. It's a game changer. You can say, like, hey, what were the key arguments against this particular theory?
And it can go back and pull from the whole thing.
It remembers from the whole document, not just the conclusion.
That would have been so helpful for, like, my thesis. Oh, my gosh.
Right. Think of all the time it could save you.
Okay, so we're giving our AI a long-term memory now.
Exactly. Extending that capacity.
Love it. Okay, so speaking of, like, getting more out of AI, there's another advanced technique that I wanted to ask you about, and it's this idea of making the AI think before it speaks.
Yes. It sounds kind of strange when you say it like that.
It does sound a little strange, yeah. Like, what does that even mean?
But it's really cool, I promise, because, sometimes if you just ask the AI for an answer directly, it might just rush to a conclusion. You know what I mean?
Totally. It just wants to please.
Yeah, it wants to give you an answer, so it might jump the gun a little bit and miss some of the nuance.
Yeah, like that friend who just blurts out an answer before you've even finished asking the question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you actually prompt the AI to kind of walk through the problem step by step, almost like show its work,
Okay.
it often arrives at a much more nuanced and a much better reasoned answer.
Oh, interesting. So you get a better result and you get to see how it got there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is so valuable because it allows you to understand, like, its thought process.
You get to peek inside its brain a little bit.
Exactly. And that can help you refine your prompts even more, right? Because the more you understand how it's thinking, the better you can guide it.
Wow, okay. We've covered some seriously cool stuff today.
Sure.
I feel like we've gone from, like, AI 101 to some seriously next level stuff.
That's a whole new world, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap things up today?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that prompt engineering, it's not this mysterious art, right? It's not just for, like, coding geniuses or AI experts.
It felt a little intimidating at first, I'm not going to lie.
Right, but like we were saying, it really is a skill. It's like learning a new language.
Yeah.
And like any language, the more you practice, the more fluent you become.
So it's really about understanding how to communicate effectively with these really powerful tools that we have.
Exactly, and they're just going to become more and more prevalent in our lives,
Yeah.
right? So the better we are at communicating with them, the better equipped we'll be to actually use them to our advantage.
That is a great point to end on. That's it for today's deep dive into the world of prompt engineering. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep talking to those AIs, everyone.